shorter. Yeah, just at about a metre shorter. Hi everyone, thanks for having me. So I work for the Fogarty Foundation, so it's nice that Kim kind of introed that a little bit. And it's really exciting to talk here in Children's Week with the theme of Article 12. And that's really relevant to us. And for a bit of context about what Article 12 is, it's all about the support for a child's right to be taken seriously. And, as a society, I don't really think that we do take children seriously. So the good thing is that we've been trialling through CoderDojo some ways of taking them seriously and helping them be part of their own learning. So that's what I'll be sharing today. And whilst this program is for 7 to 17s, I think there's relevance for anyone who is working with young people of any age and wants to empower them in this increasingly technological world. So personally, my background is in media technology and community development and social innovation. And I work at the Fogarty Foundation as Learning Communities Lead for CoderDojo WA and EdFutures. So we support communities of change makers in education who are working, and not only educators but also people in industry, non-profits, anyone who's got a stake in supporting young people. We're working to connect them and work together. And last year I travelled overseas for a Westpac Social Change Fellowship. The theme of my investigation was all about cross-sector collaborative efforts to engage young people in STEM, because we know that, that whole quote about the village, we need everybody, so how can we all work together more effectively? And so we've been exploring some ways of doing that. Just so I know, has anyone in this room been involved in a CoderDojo themselves? So I know. Kim has, yep. Okay, great. So I love a room full of people who I can share some of these things with. So I'll give a bit of background about the program and then some of the secret ingredients that make these work. So CoderDojo, it's a fun-free and social coding club for young people aged 7 to 17. And during the club session, ninjas can socialise, hang out with others who love technology, build projects of their own choice and get support from mentors, not just teachers but people from business, parents, community, youth workers, older young people. So it's not only about a teacher, it's also about who can mentor young people and also help them mentor each other. So CoderDojo, it's an international movement that came out of Dublin, but in Western Australia we have one of the world's largest regional groups. Thanks to people like Kim who are so passionate about getting involved, we've got about 150 people who run clubs all around WA who we support. And for those of you who are interested in how we see CoderDojo in context of the education system, so we don't see ourselves as trying to replace school. So we know that there's a great new digital technologies curriculum which has come through. Teachers are able to now teach coding and digital technologies during school time, which is great. And in this context, we see CoderDojo as more of a supplement for young people. It provides an environment where additional people like parents and other community members can be a part of helping our young people. And also, as the dojo is outside of school hours, it's not compulsory, it's not tested, there aren't requirements on what is to be taught. It means that dojos have been a bit of a sandbox for innovation. I know a number of primary school teachers have used them to experiment with new ways of teaching, which they've then taken into their classrooms. So it just provides that kind of outside of school opportunity to play with some of these ideas that Kim has spoken about. So, distributed knowledge where it's not just the teacher as the expert, the peer-to-peer learning, cross-age learning, and self-directed learning. And during a session, so they're not classes, they're not workshops, there are great classes and workshops out there which we promote. The dojo itself is all about having a club environment, having that freedom to explore. And whilst it's really big on freedom, I wouldn't say that a dojo is like a free-for-all. We like to say dojos are supported, not structured. So this means that there's a really, considered level of support from mentors, and they're helping all of the young people in the dojo to create their own projects. And also mentors can help ninjas find online courses that can help them progress their own learning. So some 10-year-olds might be progressing at a level of maybe a university student. So a mentor can help them access the online courses that are available to help them keep progressing. And what's interesting about CoderDojo is we're not really about designing for learning, so we are designing for engagement. And you talked about tests, Kim, and it's funny, if I visit a dojo, I can kind of tell whether it's working or not by what I see and observe. And if I see young people in flow, working on something and making something or learning something, conversations about the technology, I kind of know that the engagement is there, there's an excitement. And it's funny, we don't test, but you can feel it when it's there. And importantly, in relation to Article 12, what is it about a dojo that ninjas really love? So that whole thing about the expertise and the expert in the room, if it's not the teacher or a dojo leader who's expected to be an expert, then it gives young people the opportunity to sometimes be an expert in some areas. So, that 10-year-old who might be at university level can be a leader for young people. And so we would say to that 10-year-old, okay, well, maybe you should be a mentor. So it creates a bit of a flat structure that young people really like. And young people are also given a lot more trust and responsibility to take control of their own learning. They really like being spoken to as an equal. And it's almost, no teacher sets out to treat students or children like inferiors or subordinates, but the relationship kind of makes children feel like that sometimes, that they're one of the many minions. So we try and break up that with CoderDojo and change up some of the relationships we can have. So I'd like to just talk about some of the secret ingredients of CoderDojo from my point of view that we've been exploring. The first one is freedom to explore and discover. And the best, I brought up this CoderDojo WA mentor called Fiducia. She works at Bank West and Commonwealth. I think they've both got her working for them. I know Bank West is owned by Commonwealth, but she works as an application security consultant, trained software engineer. And the reason that I'm talking about her today is because she is the type of person who I think that we're trying to help some of these young people to become. She's very resilient, she's creative, and she has been leading and mentoring young people at a dojo at Bank West for a while. But where did she start out? So let's go back in time to when she was a child, and she lived on does anyone know that island? Does anyone know? This is Mauritius, and she grew up in Mauritius. So I don't know, there's something to be said about nature, exploring nature, the spirit that she had from Mauritius. Does anyone know what program that is on the right? Yeah, who used MS Paint? Yeah, who here didn't? For some reason, so this is before the internet, Fiducia suddenly, she became obsessed with MS Paint for some reason, but not at a normal level. She created pictures, but then she started digging into the program, trying every single feature, trying to figure out how does this program work. And this was not during school, this was after school. She just explored it. And she gave a talk at one of our events, and she said that MS Paint actually was her spark, which is so interesting to hear because you could never predict what would spark a young person. The second ingredient I'd like to talk about is this support to pursue individual interests. So every one of us here is sparked by something different, right? You would think so. So part of what we're doing with CoderDojo is to help discover that or help young people grow that, connect with their spark. And I'll give another example of another CoderDojo adult to kind of see, this is another type of person who we hope young people might be like. So Saxon, he runs his own company. He's a qualified software engineer. He was a consultant with Rio Tinto, then formed this company, Terra. So this is providing geospatial visualization technologies. And he's also a mentor. But as well as being a successful software engineer, he also loves making games. And so over the past, whilst he's also been developing his career, he's also been creating a games company. He's successfully launched an iOS game, sold millions, made thousands of dollars. And when he was young, it was actually games that really inspired him. So he was driven to increase his programming skills because he loved games and fantasy stories like zombies and all of that. That was him as a child. And so we can kind of see that the passions that young people have when they're small can actually, if they can grow when they're an adult, the two of these things, fuel each other actually. And a lot of people I know in tech are really like this. They have a real spark for something that's not only about their professional side. And so here are some of the projects made by some ninjas, and some interests of ninjas are kind of funny. So, you talk to them about what they're into, and these are some of the more mature ones actually. I've seen some pretty interesting projects made. But in a dojo, we're not supposed to tell them that one project is bad or good. And some of them like to make fan sites about their favourite TV show. That's great. The point I'm trying to make is we just don't know what it is that's going to spark people and really keep them alive and curious. So we would encourage all young people to keep pursuing whatever that might be, because it's kind of that curiosity engagement that if you can have that in you, that can make you and help drive your success no matter what you do. So the secret ingredient number 3, opportunity to make choices. And we live in a pretty complex world, right? So it's getting more and more complex, what's going on, internet, just this, every day there's something else happening and it can be a bit confusing. In the commercial world, here's an example of, I don't know how many, but these are all customer relationship management software solutions. And a professional today, maybe in a commercial environment, might have to use one of these to help them manage their contact database. But how would I choose which one? And so people in commercial industries have to make decisions like this, but on even bigger magnitudes, every day, many multiples of decisions. So the ability to make decisions is really important. And that's why it really is great that CoderDojo International gives us this menu page, and we like to help ninjas choose. And if they don't know what they want to do, okay, so what sort of thing do you want to learn? Or, it's all about helping craft those choices, because that ability to choose is really, it's empowering in the moment, but if you keep building up that skill, it's going to really serve them well. And navigating today as an adult, all of the changes, we have to keep reinventing ourselves, which can be hard. You don't know what to choose, what path to go down, who to be. So the skill to choose and to move forward in a particular direction is so important. As adults, we might not be tech experts, but we all know how to Google, right? So, we're fairly good at making decisions, hopefully, some better than others at times, I know. But we have a lot to offer kids in helping them learn to navigate themselves. So secret ingredient number 4 is all about responsibility. And technology is powerful, so responsibility is all about how do we, take command of it as children and as adults. And during a dojo session, whilst ninjas might spend some amount of time researching or maybe playing a game for some inspiration, we know, I don't know about you, but sometimes I find myself at night at 11 o'clock just on YouTube watching medical mysteries, and I think, how did I get here? They kind of go down this spiral, and it can really, technology has a way of pulling us in, and many of these platforms are designed to do that. So we need to know that unless we're using technology actively, technology can consume us. And I think that's something that as adults we have a unique perspective. Many young people who grow up with it now don't quite know this. So the key with this is helping young people take responsibility of technology, which is a very powerful tool, and help them to use that to create a kind of world that they actually want to live in. And so this is where the adult as guide really comes in, because ninjas don't always intuitively know about the great power and what they can do with it, so we can really play a huge role in helping them. And lastly, the secret ingredient number 5, this is all about opportunities for connection. And there's a strange kind of binary that seems to happen where people might think learning is a classroom thing, friendship is out of the classroom. But I know a lot of people in software and in technology, and relationships are part of work. And so we talk about learning as being part of, learning and connecting as being part of the same thing. So during a club session, there's mentoring relationships happening between adults and young people, peer-to-peer mentoring relationships. We learn better when we trust people. We don't trust people who we've only just met, so it's all about creating those longer relationships. And it's a bit sad, but I'm sad but heartened that I hear that for some ninjas, the dojo is the only place where they actually have a friend. They may have met a friend for the first time. So it's really important, because we know from the world of work, you can be into tech, but if you can't connect with people, you won't be able to have a job. So the social skill element is really important. That's why we really think it's important. And especially for all of us here today, we can see why our role is very important. So that comes to a close, the secret 5 ingredients. And my big hope that I had when sharing these with you is that I hope that you recognise that you don't need to be a whiz-bang software engineer at Google, or you don't need to be a technologist to do these things with young people and help them and sit alongside them exploring technology. Because if you can learn with them, help them explore, help them find and grow their interests, help them make choices and help them take responsibility, help them create things and help them have those strong connections with other people, then you're doing them a really great service. And we know from what Kim's been researching and from what we see in the world of tech, these skills really drive the tech skills. And so, of course, technologists will want to continue their journey maybe to university or into the corporate world, but what you do as early years educators or primary educators is just so important. And in doing so, we can learn something about technology along the way. So that's all I've got. So thank you very much for having me. Yeah.